Jai Hind children. Today we are about to study the poem by P.B. Shelley, Ozymandias, and the explanation of the poem will be given to you. First of all, I will be giving you about the poet, and after that, explanation. You all are ready with your book? Okay, open the chapter Ozymandias. Let's start, children. Yes. About the poet, first of all, I am just giving you P.B. Shelley. The poet is P.B. Shelley from 1792 to 1822. He was one of the major English romantic poets. Shelley is best known for such classic poems as Ozymandias, Ode to the West Wind, To a Skylark. So these are all are his famous poems. Music, The Cloud, many others are there. You have, if you are able to remember this Ozymandias, which is in your chapter, of course it will be there in your mind. Ode to the West Wind, To a Skylark. These two poems are also very popular. Now his other major works include long visionary poems such as Queen Mab, Adonais, the unfinished work, the triumph of life. It means the triumph of life is the unfinished work. He could not finish that. This is also the poem. His visionary verse dramas. He has written not only the poem but the dramas also. The Cenci and Prometheus Unbound. These are the two dramas written by P.B. Shelley. But he was popularly known for his poems. These all poems, Ozymandias, Ode to the West Wind, To a Skylark, Music and the Cloud. Clear? Now children, after knowing about the poet, let's start our poem, The Explanation. Ozymandias by P.B. Shelley. Is a king's power and might unending? See how your chapter has started. Your chapter has started with the lines that if any king is very much powerful, no, if he has achieved so many things, is that unending? So the poet is about to give the message through this beautiful sonnet to find out the poet's view on how the passage of time serves the most powerful of man. Means, along with the passage of time, the most powerful man, they are also forgotten if they have not done any good deed. So we all are remembered after our death only and only through our good deeds, through our good work. If we are very powerful, no, then also nobody will respect us, nobody will remember us. Now, I will be just starting the explanation of the poem. To understand the poem, what you have to do? You have to see very carefully this picture. Can you see the picture? This picture? There is a pedestal. This is called pedestal. Can you see the sand? Picture of sand. This is the picture of deserted area. And here you can see that a broken statue is standing here. What can you see, children? You can see only the legs, two legs, one and two, only two legs, and that is also broken. And where the statue is standing, this broken statue, on the pedestal. This is called pedestal, platform. What more we can see? We can see the face here, the face. is lying. The face is broken from the statue and it is lying. There is the statue is without torso. Torso means without the upper part. The upper part of the body is not there. Only the leg and face. And face is also lying. After just means the statue has been broken. Your full poem is based on this broken statue. Now see very carefully the picture also, the face also, the face. Okay, because this face there will be a description of this same face in your lines. Now let's start. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, the very first line, I met a traveler. After reading this line, we came to know that the poet has met a traveler. Who is I here? I means who? I means the poet. The poet met a traveler from an antique land. Antique land means ancient land, where there the ancient civilization, the old civilization, the oldest civilization resides. He is coming, the traveler is coming from that land. And now the traveler will be explaining whatever he saw in that antique land. To whom he is explaining? The poet, the traveler is explaining to the poet. Who said, who is who here? Who refers to traveler. So the traveler said, now he is telling, see inverted comma has started. It means that the traveler is explaining whatever he had seen there in the antique land. What he saw? Two vast and trunkless lakes of stone stand in the desert. Vast means very big, huge, huge lakes of stone. He saw two huge lakes of stone. Vast means huge. And that lake was trunkless. Trunkless means without the upper body. You cannot see here the upper body, no? Only the legs are there. So the traveler is telling that I saw two huge legs of stone that was without the upper body, and those legs were standing in the desert. Can you see the desert? This desert. The legs are only standing. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies. And just near them refers to whom? Children, you will be getting the MCQ based question, and that's why I am telling you line by line the word. You should be able to understand, you should be able to know, you have to listen very carefully that which word stands for what. As I have told you that I stands for poet, who stands for traveler, and the meaning also I am telling you. And now here I am telling you them. Them stands for, them refers to what? Near them on the sand half sunk. Them means here these legs. Okay. So them stands for the broken statue or legs or trunkless legs or two legs of stone. These all answers can be there for them. So near them on the sand, near the those two legs, what is more there? A shattered visage lies. Shattered means broken, and face, visage means face, is lying there. This face is broken, half sunk. Half sunk means the face is which is lying here is half sunk. It is half sunk means drowned, डूबा हुआ है. Where? Where it is sunk? On the sand. Okay. So here the traveler is telling that just near the legs of stone there is a broken face also, and that face is half sunk. Where? in the sand. What is there in the face? Now the traveler will be describing the expression of the face. Whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well, well those passions read which yet survive. Whose frown? Whose? Now whose stands for the face. So the face, the expression of the face, what is the expression? There is a frown. Frown means angry expression when someone is angry. So that type of expression is there on the face. And wrinkled lip. What type of lips are there on the face? Wrinkled. No, the lips are wrinkled. And sneer of cold command is there on the face. Sneer means the smile of contemptuous. Whenever we look down upon something, okay, that is called a sneer. Cold. Cold means whenever someone is without feeling, without any emotions. And command. Command means okay. So on the face, these all things are visible. The face is frowned, means the face is angry. Lip is wrinkled, and it seems that the face, means the king whose face is lying there, is very proud, because he looked down upon other things. He does not care for any other person, because there is a contemptuous smile. Now, when we don't like others, we just look down upon. We just don't give respect to others. That is a sneer of cold command is there. Tell, so these all expressions tell. Okay, after seeing all these expressions tell that its sculptor well those passions read. It tells, these expressions tell that the sculptor means what? Who makes the statue is called a sculptor. The expressions tell that the sculptor has read those passions very well, those emotions, those passions of the king. He was knowing, he was very well acquainted of the feelings of the king, and that's why he was able to engrave those passions skillfully on the statue, on the face. So these expressions tell that the sculptor was well knowing the king's feeling. He has read very carefully the feelings of the king, which yet survive. Which means what? What yet survive? Which means here what? Which means the expressions. No, these all expressions, frown, wrinkled lip, sneer of cold command, these all are which? These all are the expressions. So these all expressions yet survive. The expression is still there, stamped on these lifeless things. Stamped means just copied. The traveler is telling to the poet that the sculptor who has made this statue has copied the emotions on these lifeless things. What is lifeless? Lifeless means what? Stone. Stone is lifeless. So, lifeless means stone. So, the sculptor was well knowing. He had read those passions very well, and this is the reason that he has copied those passions on the stone. And those emotions are still surviving. We can still read, we can still see those passions. The hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. Whose hand? Hand means here sculptor's hand. The sculptor's hand, which had, the hands, yes, those hands which had copied the expressions of the king. And the heart, whose heart is there? The king's heart, which is full of these expressions. Okay, fed means the expressions are there, these feelings are there in the king's heart. So here the narrator is telling that the uh, sculptor sculptor has copied, and he is mocking means he is making fun of those expressions. Okay, because the sculptor has made the statue in such a way that anybody who will see the statue will immediately understand that the king was of a proud and boast nature. He was a boastful king. So he is making fun. Who is making fun? The hand. Whose hand? The sculptor hand is making fun of them. Them means what? Making fun of the expression. And the heart that fed. Whose heart? The king's heart, which is full of those expressions. The sculptor has very well engraved those passions on the stone. Okay, so these are the 8 lines: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8 lines, it means that it is octave. Okay, the whole poem is a sonnet. First of all, there will be 8 lines, as I told you. So there are 8 lines. This is called octave. Okay, in this octave, the poet has only explained about the Ozymandias. Now, in the next 6 lines, there will be 6 lines. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines. This is called sestet. And in the sestet, there is irony. What is irony? Let's see. And on the pedestal, these words appear. Pedestal means platform. I had shown you the pedestal in the picture also. See, this is the pedestal, this platform on which 2 legs are standing. This is called pedestal. So, on the pedestal, these words appear. What is written on the pedestal? My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. So, these 2 lines are written on the pedestal. And this is only the irony. My name is Ozymandias. The king had made engraved these words by the sculptor. No, it was written in another language, but because the whole poem is based on the Egypt. But P.V. Shelley is now telling us in this, our English language. My name is Ozymandias and I am King of Kings. King of Kings means boastful nature, Ding Hakna. No, he is just boasting. He is just, it shows that he was a proud king. Look on my works, ye mighty. And he's just, the king has just made engraved these words, and he's addressing to mighty kings, to the powerful kings of his own time and the powerful kings of the future time also. He is addressing to them. Ye means you. Ye is archaic language, okay, which is not used nowadays, and we write you. Ye means you. Ye is an archaic language. So, you mighty kings, you powerful kings, look on my work. Whatever I have done, look, and you all will be disappointed. You all will be just sad, despair after seeing my work. Again, it shows these 2 lines show that the poet was boastful and proud nature. He was arrogant. No, and he doesn't just look upon any other thing except of his own work. So he is saying, look upon my work. Can you see any work here? Can you see any construction here? No, you cannot see, because there is only sand and there is only broken statue. That's why in this line, which figure of speech has been used? There is irony. Look on my work. So when someone will look on the work, he will get? Nothing. What will he get? Nothing. So there is irony. You will be laughing after reading this line. Look on my work. What work? Nothing. Earlier there was work. Earlier he had constructed all those things. But with the passage of time, everything has been demolished. And that's why these lines have irony. Okay, have you understood what the message is there? Message of the king is there. It is not the message of the poet. This message, these two lines have been made written by the king Ozymandias. Okay, and he wants to give the message that I am the most powerful king, and all other powerful kings are just nothing in front of me, because whatever work I have done, they cannot do. They will be just despaired. They will be disappointed after seeing my work, because they cannot even think of that work which I have done. Of course, they won't be able to do, but they cannot even think about that. Nothing beside remains round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. Nothing beside remains. There is nothing beside remains. See, again I am showing you the picture. Nothing beside remains. There is nothing beside this. Beside this remaining part of the statue. Okay. Remains means the left one. These are the broken parts. So nothing is there. What is there? Round the decay, just in the surroundings of that decay, means that old and broken statue of that colossal wreck. Colossal means huge, broken statue. The colossal wreck stands for the broken statue. Colossal means huge, wreck means broken. So there is nothing around that colossal wreck. What is there? Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands. Boundless means without any boundary. We cannot see any boundary here. No boundary is there. Okay. Bare. Bare means only and only what is there? The lone and level sands. Lone means all alone. No one is there to take care. Only sands stretch far away. Only sands. We can see only sands and sand. Means the whole kingdom has changed into a deserted area. Okay, because everything has been demolished. So here the poet has given us the message that king's power cannot be unending. Kings, most powerful kings, their power is finished. Their power is not remembered by the people if the king is not uh, of good nature. If he is cruel, so nobody will be taking care of his kingdom, nobody will be taking care of his statue or any other thing. The king has made the statue. Why? Because he thought that I will be remembered after my death also. But his statue is lying, his broken statue is lying, and nobody has taken care of the statue, and that's why it is lying in this way. The condition of the statue is this. Okay. So what is the message of the poet? This is the message of the poet. Time conquers all. Time is the most powerful, is the most, we can say that time just changes everything. Whether there is a mighty or any humble, whether there is the powerful or the ordinary, whosoever is there, everyone to who conquers everyone, who gets the victory, who is the winner? Time is the winner. Because with the passage of the time only, the statue, the kingdom, the civilization, no, the construction, everything has been demolished, ruined, finished. Okay. So this was about the poem Ozymandias, children. And this Ozymandias, as I told you, is the name of the king, and the actual name of the king was Ramses II. Ramses II of Egypt. Okay, he was famous by the name of Ramses II only. That was his actual name. Now, after this, the question answers are there. You can see the questions. What had the traveler witnessed in the antique land? You all know. What had he witnessed? A broken statue. How is the shattered vase described? You will be writing the wrinkled lip, cold command, sneer cold command. These all things you will be writing here. What does the frown on the vestige reveal? The frown reveals that the king was very proud and boastful. These all things you will write here. Which words are inscribed? What words are inscribed? The words which are inscribed are this. My name is Ozymandias, king of king. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. These words are inscribed on the pedestal. Explain the irony. Have you understood the irony? I had given you. This is the irony. Look on my work, ye mighty, and despair. If anyone is looking on the work, there is nothing except of destruction. So this is the irony. Which figure of speech is employed in the last two lines? Explain the significance of its use in the context of the poem. You will be seeing the last two lines of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sense stretched far away. So in colossal wreck only there is oxymoron figure of speech, boundless and bare, lone and level. What figure of speech? Which consonant sound I am repeating? Boundless and bare, ba sound. It means which figure of speech? Alliteration. Lone and level, which figure of speech can be there? Alliteration, because I am repeating the sound lone and level, la sound. Okay, L sound. This is consonant sound is being repeated. Sans stretch, SS sound. So you can write here alliteration because oxymoron is there only in the two words, these two words. Colossal wreck, only these two words. Oxymoron is there. Boundless and bare, lone and level, sand stage. These all are your alliteration. Okay. Now I will be just sharing you the answer also in your through the PDF. Okay, in your school app. Now again, reference to contest. See the question. Explain the line. What had the traveler described earlier? What light does the inscription throw on the temperament of the mighty king Ozymandias? Which two important themes of the poem do the above line reflect upon? I will be sharing you all the answers, children. First, you go through the question and try to take out your own answers. Okay? Hope the poem is clear to you, and next class I will be giving you another chapter of grammar. For today, it is enough. Go through the poem again. The word meanings you have to learn, and question answers you have to write in your English in a notebook from the shared PDF. Clear? Write down name of the chapter. In the index also write down after mentioning the date, and also write down the message of the poem. After the message, what you will write about the poet, then question answers. Clear? That is enough, children. That's all for today. Goodbye, children. Take care.